Okay, I'm about to say a harsh truth, and this has to do with the Essence Fest and why we cannot let Africans take over or have super influence on ethnic Black American things. This is a harsh truth, and I hate to say Africans, and I think that all third world people, countries have this kind of mindset. However, the Africans obviously are trying to take over our businesses, our reparations, and so we have to stop it, and this is why.
Recently, I came across some very strong statements online, as you have heard. One Black American woman expressed frustration about Africans taking over businesses, culture projects, and even reparations. Another discussed perceptions of work ethic when Africans immigrate to the US. Her words are passionate and clearly rooted in real feelings, but they also contain sweeping generalizations that deserve careful examination. Mark my words, careful examination. So tonight, we are going point by point, unpacking her claims, providing context, and exploring ways we can bridge the divide. Let's dive into it.
What the SS Fest was just a glimpse. Third world countries are run into the ground because their leaders are corrupted, because they're tribalistic, because these people do not really care about the whole, the community. And the ethnic Black American, so they scam, they cheat people, they steal from people, they are corrupt. And I'm not saying that all Africans are like this, but obviously there's too many, and that's why their countries are the way they are. They're willing to sell out each other to Europeans to have more money while the rest of their countrymen suffer horribly. So the reason why the Essence Fest did not go well is some of this thinking is starting to translate over. And we can't have, no matter what, I know you panties want to think that we're all kumbaya, we're all one. We're not. A first world mind can never...
Let's start with that first point. Now, she says third world countries are run into the ground because of corruption and tribalism, and Africans are willing to betray each other for personal gain. She contrasts this with African Americans, who she believes build stability in first world context. Now, here's my own take on this. Personally, corruption exists in many countries. That one is quite seeable and it's inevitable. But it is not an inherent characteristic for Africans. Leadership challenges often result from historical colonization, resource exploitation, and systematic oppression. And while African Americans built resilience in the US, framing Africans as a threat is an overgeneralization. I feel like it's an overgeneralization because both communities have individuals who succeed and individuals who fail. Corruption is just contextual and not racial. Listen to this.
First world mind can never understand a third world mind. We just can't. And a third world mind cannot understand a first world mind. And because we're in such a unique position that we are the only Black ethnic group that built and exists in a first world country alongside the country becoming first world. We are also not just with Black people. We're one of the only ethnic groups out of Asians, Hispanics, even European ethnic groups that are doing very, very well considered, all things considered. Okay, so that being said, we have to really protect what we built. We have been enslaved for centuries. Then we went through Jim Crow for centuries. And then we still had to deal with all these other things to get what we have. And I'm not going to let that Pan-Africanist mindset that I used to have ruin that, because we just want to pretend and be delusional and idealistic that we are the same. We are not the same. We're not. And I'm not talking about DNA and genetics. I'm not talking about that. We have a completely different history because we had a canonizing event where
Next, she says a first world mind can't understand a third world mind and vice versa. Well, I understand she's emphasizing different lived experiences, but using this as a reason to distrust Africans is actually problematic. Differences in experience do exist, African Americans endured slavery. Yes, she mentioned Jim Crow and systematic racism, while Africans faced colonization, wars, and resource exploitation. But these differences should actually encourage learning and not fear. So we really need to understand each other. By that, I mean understanding each other is the first step toward collaboration. And I feel like we should be united together instead of separating us. It kind of seems we always put racism on the whites, and yet it's now vice versa. Why are we distancing ourselves, and yet we are of the same color? We're all Africans. So I believe understanding each other is the first step toward collaboration. Let's go to the historical canonizing events.
Those people sold our ancestors, and even some of our ancestors sold each other, and they're mixed up in it. But our canonizing event is that we went to slavery through centuries, and it transformed us into a completely different people. We had to build everything. We had to create everything in this country. We had to fight for everything we had, and we progressed and we advanced, and now we're here. And I'll be damned if y'all Pan-Africanist delusional mofos want to pretend that these people are just friendly and it's okay for them to steal. The Essence founder decimated the Black Museum in Harlem, took 6.5 million. And there's all these scams coming out about the Essence Fest because they think differently. There's so much corruption in these third world countries. It's a norm. It's a norm. I am not saying America isn't corrupt, but it's a first world corruption. It's a first world corruption. First world corruption, third world corruption. Completely different animals. Ethnic Black Americans know who actually leads some things. Know to a large degree that there's a certain amount of things you need to have to make something function well and for a long time. That's why Essence has lasted this long. They took over for maybe a couple years, and they've already started ruining it. Unless you know that person personally, because I'm not saying all Africans. I have friends that I know who are African who would do a great job. But I know them very well. And even our own people, we know our own people can corrupt some stuff too. Listen.
She talks about canonizing events. Yeah. Slavery for African Americans versus other historic events for Africans. To claim Africans are fundamentally different? Nope. Our histories are indeed different, but history alone doesn't dictate behavior today. African Americans' experiences shaped resilience in America. I want you to understand that Africans' histories shaped resilience on the continent. Differences are not justification for distrital superiority claims. That's one thing we need to understand here. The whole point of canonizing events and, slavery for African Americans, you all transported, and we are still the same. We are still the same. Yeah. History alone doesn't dictate behavior today.
These people have a lot of tribalism that they have not gotten rid of. They have a lot of corruption that they haven't gotten rid of. They have a lot of colonization that they haven't gotten rid of. They didn't have a Malcolm X. They didn't have an MLK. They had Lumumbas, and look what they did to Lumumba as a group, not as a one person or whatever. As a group, look what they did to their Nkrumahs and their Lumumbas. Now, while we had MLK was unalived by the non-melanated, and Martin Luther and MLK and Malcolm was unalived by one of us who was set up by the non-melanated, but we never rejoiced, and it was never all of us turning them in. Our Fred Hamptons were unalived by the non-melanated, but we never rejoiced. There was a few of raccoons who did, but not all of us. But look at what they did to their Lumumbas and their Nkrumahs. You cannot think we're the same. We're not. And the fact that you guys keep trying to make us the same means that you are on the other side with them. Go live with them. Go be with them. Go work with them. But not us anymore. We are not the same. We are like the rich cousins that go back to the hood thinking I'm still going to be down with the hood. And look what it got Nipsey, who is bi-ethnic, before y'all try to start. Look what it got, where it got Nipsey Hussle, going back to the hood. Look where it got Young Dolph, going back to the hood.
She compares African Americans' resilience to African leaders like Lumumba and Nkrumah, claiming Africans betrayed each other while African Americans stayed united. Historical context is crucial. Yeah, many African leaders faced foreign interference, coups, and systematic operation. On the other hand, African Americans also faced internal conflict and systematic challenges. So I don't believe any group is perfect. And these comparisons oversimplify complex histories. So guys, let's look at it in this way.
And look what it got Nipsey, who is bi-ethnic, before y'all try to start. Look what it got, where it got Nipsey Hussle, going back to the hood. Look where it got Young Dolph, going back to the hood. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, but we're first worlders. And to them, we look like Nipsey in the hood. We look like Young Dolph when he comes to the hood. That's how we look to them. They think we're dumb and we're naive, and they're plotting on us. That's why the African Union had the nerve to put us as their sixth state. They will steal all that money. We'll never see a dime. We'll never see a dime. They're going to say it's African Americans that get the money. And they mean African. Not us. Not ethnic Black Americans. Not foundational Black Americans.
She warns against going back to the hood and letting Africans take over culture spaces. Protecting your community and vetting partnerships is wise. I won't stop you from that. Yeah, it is actually wise. But using it to generalize about an entire continent is actually harmful. Africans and African Americans share connections, culture, and potential for collaboration. The focus should be on mutual respect, learning from each other, and building together, rather than fear, mistrust, or blame. We need to have this as a takeaway. Differences exist, histories are unique, but collaboration, understanding, and respect create strength. Let's shift from blame to solutions, from fear to opportunity. That's how we can actually move forward as the Blacks. Well, on your other side, do you actually believe Pan-African unity is realistic? Or are we too divided by history and circumstance? Please share your thoughts about this. Those that are watching this.
So we really have to understand a first worlder and a third worlder cannot think alike. All they're going to do is look at us as a group as a potential to scam and take. We are their rich cousins to them. And they're in squalor, in the hood. And guess what happens every time a famous rapper tries to keep going back to the hood? What happens to the famous rapper when he keeps trying to go back into the hood? And that is what's going to happen to us if we keep trying to go back to these people. They need to elevate and learn from us. We do not need to learn from them. We are the ones that have the best education. We're the ones that are the healthiest as a group. We're the ones that have the most money as a group. We're the ones that have a culture that is emulated worldwide as a group. We are the ones that have a lot more on the table to lose.
She keeps on differentiating between the first and world corruption and third world corruption, calling them completely different animals. Context actually matters. Legal frameworks, regulations, and accountability differ. Corruption exists everywhere. Yeah, it does exist everywhere. African Americans are not immune. The focus should be systems and solutions and not stereotypes. I think it's just a stereotype. You really need to look into this. It's just a stereotype.
Stop it. They ran the Essence Fest into the ground. This is God trying to show us what can happen when we let this kind of mindset into our culture. I am not saying don't mess with somebody who's an immigrant, but you better have vetted them completely. And I wouldn't trust, you don't even trust your cousin Pookie with money, but yet you letting these people come in and do deals with you. You don't even let your cousin Pookie from the hood. You don't even want to give him $100. But you trying to do business with people that you don't know? You better have them contracts iron tight, ironclad. And I'm not saying, like I said, if I know somebody or if I see a track record or if they have references that are really strong, okay. But stop thinking these people will run us into the ground like they ran their countries into the ground. Stop it. When we had our own cities, they were thriving. They were so successful that the non-melanated were jealous of how successful and how well we were doing and destroyed it. So when we come together and we're not bothered by people, we know who not to let in. We know how to get to the next level. Because we did it. And we showed it. They haven't shown us that yet as a group. They haven't.
Mismanaging their cities. Is that right? Well, she cities examples like the Essence Festival and the Harlem Museum claiming Africans mismanaged them. My response to that is any failed business or culture project should be examined case by case. Mistakes happen. I mean, we're all human. We're all bound to make mistakes and, we're all bound to fail. Yeah. So mistakes happens with anyone, regardless of nationality. So placing the blame on an entire continent ignores the many successful African entrepreneurs and innovators and culture leaders. So I basically feel like generalization here is unfair and inaccurate.
They haven't. Stop it. If you're truly a business person, you're going to vet the business and you're going to vet the person. Don't let them run our culture into the ground because y'all panties want to kumbaya and sing along and you have a soft spot. Whether or not we're descended or not from them, whether it's indigenous, whether it's like whether we were from the slaves, it doesn't matter. We're not them anymore. We're not them.
Trust and vetting. Oh God. She emphasizes vetting people carefully. Yeah, I understand everyone has to be, you can't trust anybody, most especially those that you feel are out of your society context. Yeah. But yeah, your advice is valid. But you need to understand that professional partnerships require due diligence regardless of origin. But framing Africans broadly as untrustworthy is both unfair and inaccurate. The principle is sound. You need to always check track records, contracts, and references. But don't generalize entire populations just because you have distrust.
Stop trying to go back to the hood. They're trying to get to where we are, obviously. And you're trying to go back to where they are. Stop it. Stop it.
I want us to ponder back to this question. Do you believe Pan-African unity is realistic? Or are we too divided by history and circumstance? Please share your thoughts in the comments. This is a conversation we cannot afford to ignore. Let this be food for thought. So alongside that, we have a lady also talking about African immigrants and the work ethics. Let's first take a look at this video.
When Africans come to America, they're busting their behinds to get degrees, become doctors, lawyers, and stuff like that. So when Africans look at African Americans, they're like, these people have credit cards. We don't even have credit cards. These people are not even working, and we come here and we busting our asses. Now we're doing this. We're now six figures, and these people have all these years to become all these great jobs and careers, and they're not doing anything. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Yeah, this is the conversation. It's like y'all have all this time to get free money, free loans, and we don't get that back at home.
Another reaction we need to include is when African immigrants come to the US, they work hard, get degrees, become doctors, and climb the ladder. So some African Americans see this as a critique that they haven't fully leveraged available resources. But context actually matters. African Americans have been fighting centuries of systematic racism. Comparing struggles without nuisance misses the point. Both the Africans and African Americans have resilience and ambition shaped by very different historical and social environments. And now, you need to understand that Taking jobs is a common political talking point, but it oversimplifies reality. And here is the truth. Yeah. Migrants frequently take on work that many Americans either avoid or leave due to difficult conditions and low pay. These actually include agriculture, caregiving, construction and manual labor, hospitality, and civil jobs. We need to also consider the labor market dynamics. I mean, many of these industries struggle to find enough domestic workers. Employers often rely on migrants because the jobs are physically tough. That's one thing you have to resonate with. Seasonal or low paying, located in rural or less attractive areas. These are all key factors that we are supposed to look at. Yeah, instead of diving deep into these different stereotypes. Let's look at the bigger picture. Yeah, when people say migrants take jobs, they overlook that. We need to understand the migrants often complement the labor force, not replace it. The real challenge is wage stagnation, automation, and corporate practices, not just immigration. So without migrant labor, many industries, especially farming and caregiving, would collapse or face severe shortages. In short, the migrants often do the work that keeps society moving. Unlike many citizens are unwilling to do under the current pay and conditions. So this is food of thought to ponder back. You people that are watching, do not just follow the stereotypes that go around. You need to first think through things and get the actual facts about it. Once again, I'll urge you, this is not just a podcast for me to talk about, but I need you to drop down your comments. Please share your thoughts and we shall manage to read them and share them in our next podcast. This is your host, Kev Kelly, once again on the Men at Work Kings and Queens talk show. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Peace out.